So yeah, so 16 years, and basically that client has been extremely, I would say, like operational. In other words, we were deploying their email strategy, so from A to Z. And only a year and a half ago that we started doing some strategic work for them. But prior to that, it was strictly operational.
Um, I like the headline you wrote, which was from mass to personalization.
Yep.
What was that their intent, or is that something that Relation One was able to initiate?
Well, it was their intent, but like any big organizations, they need to get pushed so they can get things moving, and that's pretty much what we were preaching. What we've been preaching, for several months, and at some point in time, they said, well, you know what, like we're ready. Can you help? And this is where we start. Having some discussions with them that relate to putting a like a strategic plan together for them. But we've done that in a very, very short period of time, and when I say short, like within a 3-month period, um, where we've done a lot of analysis in terms of their current situation and where they should aim to. We provided them with like a bunch of guidelines. We've developed basically we developed a very detailed approach that can be around the lines of let's say developing some personalized programs for them, developing some segmentations, the whole approach, so they can really start from day one to personalize. It's been a pretty, I would say, like a pretty tough exercise because it's not because we have the right plan that they are, I would say, like equipped to receive that plan and execute it. So that's why it was a bit rough in some instances, but overall the result was that they had a weekly e-newsletters letter that was getting sent every week, and that newsletter was strictly mass, and we were just wondering how to get it more personalized.
But what would the benefit be to them, do you think? I mean, was there a problem that they saw that they wanted to solve by going a little bit more personal?
Well, first of all, like they are like Amazon, just to name only them, like they are like a big reference for them, and they know how Amazon can personalize, and for them, they said to themselves, well, if we want to compete with them, we're better off, getting that personalization plan together. Otherwise, we're gonna be dead. So I think that they had like some pressures from the outside, and
to stay competitive, yes.
Yeah, and combined with what we were telling them, basically that engagement is driving sales. So we need to get engagement, more engagement from your customers, and by doing so, we need to be more relevant. And that was basically the message that we're telling them, and basically it was pretty for us. It was a bit different than the other players, just because of the frequency of visits for customers for such a retailer. So you don't necessarily buy a TV every week, as opposed to when you go to grocery or pharmacy. So even though we could get access to the transactional data through their reward zone program, it was not necessarily like a big advantage from a personalization standpoint. So that's why we decided to use to build an algorithm that basically can track in real time what products I should say that customers were clicking on the Best Buy website, so we could use those images to retarget them the week after in a very small personalized section in their e-newsletter. So
because the thinking, of course, is that if you show some interest, you're more predisposed to purchase.
exactly. So everything was built around the intent to purchase.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that in mind, can you maybe walk me through a little bit of the methodology that allowed you to get to the final solution?
Ooh. Well, the first thing it was to be with them, to install what we call the like the tagging of their web pages. So in order for us to be able to connect, the subscriber to the products they were clicking on, so those website pages needed to be tagged with the Salesforce tags.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one thing to get a solution, but that's another thing to implement and integrate those tags. So we were with them to guide them in terms of how to install the whole thing. So once all the pages were properly tagged, there was for us, obviously, like throughout the whole plan that we had developed, it was to be able to determine, I would say, for each individual subscriber, we were putting like a link in every email that was being sent. So we can have the subscribers clicking on those links, so it can bring them to the web page, and then having them clicking on different products, so we can capture the information in real time. Okay. However, we had to develop a custom algorithm in parallel, well, prior to deploying the whole thing. So with a bunch of different business rules that were applied, basically we were able to make sure that we could capture and push the right products and the right images to the right customers. Because if, for instance, the customer, let's say, may have clicked on a laptop on Monday, but he ended up buying it on Thursday. So on the Friday e-newsletter, so there was a business rule that was removing that product, so we don't have to show a product that was already purchased by the customer. So it wouldn't be irrelevant. So those rules were, there's a bunch of rules to be considered, but that was overall the process.
Okay, very good. And then in terms of the deliverable, you refer to a plan with 18 personalized initiatives. That was the result of you identified 18 opportunities to personalize on their behalf, then, I take it?
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. So, and then how long does that take to normally execute a roadmap like that?
Well, first of all, we only implemented one initiative out of the 18, because I don't know if you know, but at this point in time, Best Buy is no longer a client of ours.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Let me reframe that question. How long did it take you to work out the roadmap?
3 months.
3 months, so a 3-month time period in that. Okay, so although they're no longer a client, there was some good results that still came out of it in this time?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, any numbers that you might have at your fingertips that...
Unfortunately, I don't have any numbers in mind, but one thing for sure, I remember that it was speeding up the conversion. So versus control group, but I don't have the specific number in mind.
Okay. Would there be access to that information?
Probably somewhere. Since it's no longer a client. I mean, it's somewhere that it's. I think it's still valid, but it's still this is not an information that we're getting access on a daily basis.
Right.
But
yeah, even if you were to turn over the if you have documents, we can sift through it ourselves and see what the results are. But as you can imagine, it's always helpful even to have a quantifiable number that shows some level of success.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'll follow up on that and see if we can be able to achieve it. That would be great. But I think this seems like a fairly straightforward engagement of its type, that you just simply came in, worked out the strategy, mapped out the path to how to make it more personalized, and then you simply executed it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so with a client, I'm just thinking in terms of similar types of clients, like a Best Buy. What sort of would motivate someone to engage you to do this sort of work? Is it because they're looking at the competition and seeing how they might be able to cross-sell and increase their sales?
Well, I think that the fact that we manage very well our offering is basically going from strategy to execution, knowing that we can execute it and we can measure it. So we're not necessarily just a company that put together a plan and go to the next line. So we have the ability to not only put together the right plans, but at least to implement it and measure it. So I think that in terms of trust of different potential prospects, I think it probably weigh a good weight in the balance. So that's my feeling. But,
okay. And in terms of similar types of clients you could apply this for, what might those examples be? Who could you use the same sort of learning to assist?
So you want me to give you other names of clients, or
yeah, or types of companies you could approach with the same sort of methodology? Would be primarily, I guess, anybody with an online presence in a way, wouldn't it?
Well, for this specific initiative, yes, but out of those 18 initiatives, some of them were not necessarily related to an online experience. But I'm just thinking about what I'm currently working on during these days is Sobeys. So Sobeys, for the Province Quebec. So they are in the process of thinking about what could the personalization look like from an IGA perspective. So the mandate we had was to develop some sort of a roadmap, broken down by 3 phases, and that roadmap would identify a bunch of initiatives with obviously the technology required to make those initiatives happen. And also we estimated how much it would cost them on a per phase basis to make it happen. So that's what we've done, and this is articulated by a bunch of different workshops. So in this situation, we had articulated 2 workshops. One for which we've talked about the vision and strategy, along with strategic objectives and initiatives. And the second one was all about data and technology. So making sure that we could, first of all, better understand their current situation from a technology standpoint, and then assessing their situation and recommending a plan in terms of what to do to get automated type of approach. And that was all articulated by questionnaires that we send, let's say a week ahead of that meeting.
Okay.
And so those questionnaires are being filled out by them. But since we were such in a rush for that specific client, so instead of sending those questionnaires, we just we just went there physically and interviewed them with all the questions that we had. And so we captured information. We put together a deck with our understanding and also where and our recommendations. We present it to the team, and we do the same for the second workshop. And at the end, we come up with a prioritization in terms of what needs to be done, how do we need to phase them out. So the last meeting is really like the actual deliverable, which is a roadmap containing all the elements that I just mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's excellent. So, can you give me an example of some of the initiatives? Like on Best Buy, you of course specified 18 personalized initiatives. What might some of the examples be that would have been executed upon?
It would be something like a personalized flyer, so a weekly flyer. Basically, let's say like pulling out, let's say I'm selling it for you. So what would be like the 5 most relevant products for you based on your historical purchases? And for me, it would be like 5 totally different products because we just shop differently. So that could be one thing. It could also goes along. Let's say like I'm sending you a I don't know, like seafood recipe because your purchasing patterns showed me that you like seafood.
Okay.
As opposed to me, I'm going to get another type of recipe based on what I bought.
Mm-hmm.
So those kind of things.
Okay, so that goes all the way to providing certain customized content, in other words, that would
Yep.
improve the whole customer experience.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's really quite wonderful in terms of